Hello and welcome to another installment in iChim's video series on foreign direct investment in Vietnam in celebration of the 35th anniversary of the promulgation of the law on foreign investment. In this video, we will be discussing the bidirectional relationship between Vietnam's FDI and its labor market. In general, according to the Minister of Labor, Invalids and Social Affairs Đào Ngọc Dũng, foreign investment inflows in recent years have had a significant impact on the development and productivity of the labor market and the income of workers. Labor productivity of FDI enterprises is 3 to 5 times higher than the general labor productivity of the whole country. For the past 20 years, Vietnam has succeeded in attracting FDI in low-value adding manufacturing for exports, which has facilitated a demand for millions of low-skilled workers. However, as we have mentioned in a previously released video on FDI and Vietnam's green growth, FDI in 2022 has mostly been concentrated in sectors such as technology and energy, sectors of which usually demand higher skilled workers, and moved away from sectors that are historically significant contributors to pollution, such as garments and textiles, where there is usually a demand for low-skilled workers. This could signal a change in the overall labor demand of the economy facilitated by FDI. In fact, according to the International Labor Organization in Vietnam's, or ILO Vietnam for short, labor economist Valentina Barucki, Vietnam's biggest challenge to sustainable development in its labor market is the ability to increase its supply of higher skilled workers due to an inevitable shift in focus to higher value-adding industries in the overall economy. The World Bank in August 2022 reported that in the first half of 2022, the economy has grown by 6.4%, the highest the country has seen in 3 years, but still lower than pre-pandemic levels. This economic rebound was primarily driven by a robust growth in manufacturing exports to Vietnam's main export markets, which are the US, the EU, and China. Of the total export value, 70% is accounted for by the FDI sector. Therefore, to further examine the relationship between FDI and the changing labor market, we should examine how the labor market has reacted to shifts in exports. Similar to the trends observed in the FDI sector, according to Barucki, exports in agriculture and textiles have become smaller in relative terms, while electronics and services have exhibited an increase. The labor market has mirrored this movement. In the year 2000, roughly 65.3%, or 2/3 of the employed labor force was in agriculture. 20 years later, this figure is reduced to a little more than 37.2%, or 1/3. The missing 1/3 is approximately evenly shared between services and industry. Barucki comments, while in the year 2000, agriculture was by far the biggest employer in the country, today services and agriculture are virtually equal at 37.3% and 37.2%, respectively, followed closely by the industry sector at 25.5% of employment. However, there are some constants in the labor market. Women's disadvantage in the labor market. In a study done on foreign investment and female employment in Vietnam, it was found that FDI is associated with increases in employment and wages by more in high technology areas of the country. In areas of the country with weak technology, foreign investment is associated with lower employment and lower wages, particularly for men. That an equal increase in foreign investment in high-tech provinces is associated with larger increases in top wages for men than for women. All facts and reasoning suggest a shift from a primarily low-value adding to a primarily high-value adding FDI sector specifically, and economy in general. This, in turn, would imply a rising demand for higher skilled laborers, a demand for which can only be met through education. This sentiment is echoed by Barucki and the World Bank. Without careful preparation, a large part of workers in Vietnam who are old, untrained, with low skill may face difficulties to adapt to a new environment and then potentially lead to the risk of job loss, unemployment, and abandonment in the trend of job displacement. For example, according to a survey by Navigo Search, Japanese manufacturers in the field of electronic components and automobiles are planning to expand their market in Vietnam in 2021. In addition, manufacturers from Europe, the US, China, and Japan are exploring the market to build factories and develop production and business activities in Vietnam. In 2021, information technology businesses have a demand for thousands of IT engineers to serve their development plans. According to Ngô Thị Ngọc Lan, Regional Director at Navigo Search, the demand for personnel in the fields of information technology, digital banking, financial technology, or fintech, and e-commerce will gradually recover as this is a market with sustainable development. At the same time, the life insurance sector has a high demand for recruiting senior positions or financial advisors. This sector is expected to grow by 15%. Moreover, labor force composition has a significant impact on FDI, as concluded in a research paper done on labor force and foreign direct investment by Nguyễn Hữu Cung at Vietnam National University. Therefore, taking into consideration the trends observed so far, we could reasonably argue the government would be able to further facilitate FDI and general economic growth by implementing policies that invest in human capital and public education. In summary, for Vietnam to continue attracting the right kind of FDI and reach its goal of becoming a high-income country by 2045, the government might want to take into consideration the changes occurring in the labor market. In the meantime, Vietnam continues to be an attractive investment destination for many due to its willingness to adapt to international markets and political stability. So, if you are looking for investment opportunities, why not here? iChum will come along with you to deliver up-to-date statistics and key facts to aid you in your journey. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment, or if you'd like to stay in more direct communication with us, send us a message to the email in the description. Finally, don't forget to subscribe. Ciao and hang up live.